I had taken care of a blind, helpless Eric for 3 years, until his beloved first love came back. It was immature of me before, she said, smiling sweetly. From now on, I'll take care of Eric. You've done your part. I took her money, 5 million, and left the country overnight. I had no idea that back home, the man I left behind had gone crazy searching for me. Later, Eric cornered me and asked, Annie, how much did she give you? I mumbled, 5 million. His brows twisted into a frown. 5 million? You sold me off for just 5 million? Then he gave me a light smack on the head. Idiot. Why didn't you ask for more? If she ever tries to pay you again, let her throw as much money as she wants. What is this, chump change? I was stunned. Wait, this isn't how the story's supposed to go. Eric Parker had lost his memory in a car accident, and his vision. Because of that accident, his beloved Sophia ran away. And that's how I got the chance to stay by his side. It was a chance I never should have had. All thanks to his parents. They were busy people, and couldn't bear to leave their blind son alone at home. Worried that their now blind son would never find a pretty girlfriend, they did some deep digging, and found out there was a girl who'd quietly liked Eric for years. Unfortunately for them, that girl was me. And just like that, I became the daughter-in-law of the Parker family overnight. My brother's tuition was covered. My grandfather's medical bills too. And, well, I got the man of my dreams. He couldn't see, sure, but he was still so handsome. A feast for the eyes, literally. I figured I wasn't losing out. But what I didn't expect was that on our wedding night, Eric became a little slow in the head. His brain just didn't work right. His blindness could still be treated, thanks to the Parker family's wealth. But his mind? That was uncertain. Slowly, I started to understand why Sophia had left. So shallow. Yes, he used to be the brilliant, cold-hearted golden boy. And now he was different. But he was obedient, sweet, and still looked like a Greek god. Who wouldn't want to keep him? His parents reassured me, Eric would recover one day, it was just a matter of time. But Sophia had said, what if he doesn't? Am I supposed to take care of a fool for the rest of my life? His mother sobbed into my shoulder, cursing Sophia's cruelty. She looked at me with watery eyes and said, you're the real daughter-in-law of this family. From now on, if you tell Eric to go east, he won't dare go west. It was comforting to hear, but I knew deep down, I was the one who got lucky. If Eric hadn't had that accident, none of this would have been mine. And when he recovered, he wouldn't love me. But that's okay. I'd enjoy every day I had. I promised his mother, don't worry. As long as I have something to eat, Eric will have something to wear. She hugged me like she'd just found her long-lost daughter. My sweet daughter-in-law, you're such a good girl. But really, don't be so frugal. Spend what you need. If you run out, I'll even steal your father-in-law's stash for you. Back then, everything was going smoothly. What I didn't expect was that Eric, now forgetful and a bit silly, had also become incredibly clingy. He used to be the cold, untouchable type. Now he was a needy little puppy mixed with a spoiled, wild husky. Every day, he'd forget we were married. And every day, he'd ask me all over again. Like now, he paced the living room a few times, then walked over, hesitant. Are you really my wifey? I nodded firmly. Yes, I am. Then he'd sit on the floor in front of me, gaze hazy, and trace the contours of my face with his fingers. After a while, he'd break into a smile. Yep. My wifey is definitely my type. Me. Even though I knew he couldn't see me, his gaze still made my heart skip a beat. You can't even see me, I said, how do you know I'm your type? I trust my feelings. Eric chuckled softly, placing his hand on my waist. Wifey, were you just embarrassed? I slapped his hand away. Nonsense. I wasn't embarrassed. Since losing his sight, Eric's other senses had sharpened, and so had his flirt game. His handsome face leaned closer to my neck. Just now. I heard your breath catch. You must have really liked me before I lost my memory, huh? Yeah, keep dreaming. I didn't answer, just ruffled his clean, short hair. Why don't you guess? Liking you is like biting into a sour green grape, tart, but oddly sweet. I prefer proving things through action. Eric suddenly leaned in, pinning me to the couch. He tried to kiss me, and I almost couldn't breathe. I instinctively turned my head to dodge. He missed, and his expression turned pitiful. Wifey, did I do something wrong? Why won't you kiss me? Woo-woo. I nearly cursed out loud. Do you even know how heavy you are? You almost crushed me to death. But, woo-woo. Did I just hear him woo-woo? He instantly clamped a hand over his mouth, realizing how out of character that sounded. His face turned red. I didn't. You misheard. Even if he was a bit silly now, there were still traces of the old, cold Eric hidden deep down. Looking at him, I realized, he was very easy to tease. With that thought, I pounced. How can anyone be this cute? His fair skin flushed quickly, and soon, I'd left several red marks on his cheeks from pinching. Suddenly I felt a bit guilty, and a bit possessive. From now on, no one else is allowed to pinch your face. Eric laughed, his body trembling slightly as he hovered over me. Who would dare? Only you can touch me. If anyone else tries, I'll break their hands. He grabbed my mischievous hand and said, Wifey, I've been so good. Can I get that kiss now? Of course, you can. I gave him a gentle push, surprised when he toppled back onto the bed. Was that too hard? I asked. Eric blushed and shook his head. No. I'm just heavy. This position is more comfortable. His breath brushed against my ear, warm and teasing. Wifey, you can be a little rough with me. Whatever you want to do, it's okay, Me. Why does this feel like I've boarded a pirate ship I can't get off of? I have reason to believe you're seducing me. Eric chuckled. And, is it working? The next morning, Eric was woken up by my kick. He sat on the floor, clutching his abdomen, eyes dull and glassy. But instead of anger, I saw a look of pitiful grievance. Wifey, why did you kick me? Because someone didn't know when to stop last night. I pulled a muscle in my back. I held my waist and tried to sound gentle. I'm hungry. Go make breakfast. Eric propped himself up against the bed. Ow. He reached the bedroom door, then stopped, turned back with his head down, voice barely audible. Wifey, I can't see. The look of disappointment on his face made me feel awful. How could I forget that? I stumbled to my feet and walked over to him. Reaching up, I gently ruffled his hair. My bad. I shouldn't have asked you to cook. Come on, let's go out for a big breakfast. But Eric didn't cheer up. He just stood there, head low, unmoving. I raised a hand to his cheek and felt something warm beneath my fingertips. I was startled. Are you crying? Eric turned his head away, refusing to meet my eyes. And no, I'm not. Panic rushed in. I started fumbling, at a total loss for what to do. Don't cry, okay? I'm not good at comforting people, just don't cry. Was I too rough last night? I swear I didn't mean it. I didn't think I kicked that hard. The more I spoke, the guiltier I felt. Annie, you're terrible. Look at him, how could you bear to kick someone so beautiful? Just looking at his face should have been enough to calm your temper. Eric muttered, it didn't hurt. If my wifey kicks me, I deserve it. My baby even has this kind of awareness now? Impressive. I gently turned his face toward me. Then, why the tears? Stop crying, your eyes are all red. You were the one bullying me last night too, remember? Eric's face instantly flushed crimson. He quickly wiped at his eyes and asked in a small voice, Wifey, am I useless? I can't even make you breakfast. Other women have all kinds of things from their husbands, but you have nothing. I failed you. Who says I have nothing? I corrected him. I have a lot, a lot. Eric looked up at me, eyes full of hope. I smiled brightly and said, I have money. Who else's wifey has a husband this rich? Humph. I can walk sideways in this world. Eric's head drooped again, and he muttered, Wifey, you're really shallow. You don't get it. It's not called shallow, it's called having foresight and vision. Besides, my husband is so handsome. I cupped his chin and showered him with exaggerated praise. Oh my, who's got the most handsome husband in the world? Oh right, it's me. I'm so lucky. Eric looked totally flustered. Wifey, stop it. Let's just go eat. We went to a mall for breakfast, but by sheer bad luck, ran into someone familiar. Sophia, Eric's first love. A normal person would have pretended not to see us and walked away. But not Sophia. She walked right up to us. Her eyes were locked onto Eric's face, but her lips moved to ask me, how's Eric's vision? I replied blandly, just fine. Eric frowned. Wifey, why even talk to her? Let's eat. A flicker of hurt passed across Sophia's face. She looked at Eric. Eric, do you know who I am? I don't care who you are. All I know is that my wifey doesn't like you. So do us a favor and get out of the way. In that moment, I was the only one who knew just how tightly my heart was clenched. I was also the only one who understood what Sophia hadn't finished saying. The time I had with Eric was borrowed, stolen. What I didn't expect was for Eric to sense my discomfort with Sophia, and actually speak up for me. If he ever regained his memory, would he still do the same? Sophia looked at me like she'd just been poisoned, her expression disbelieving. You two are married? I said nothing. After all, if she hadn't left, this would never have been my story. Eric raised my hand slightly, letting the silver ring on my finger glimmer under the sunlight. Just like I had always dreamed of, we could go on like this forever. But I knew it deep down, the days of unease were quietly approaching. Eric seemed to lose patience and didn't want to continue the conversation. Wifey, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. She's annoying. I don't want to see her. Eric. Sophia suddenly raised her voice. How can you treat me like this? Do you even know who that woman next to you is? Do you know what she looks like? Is she really worth your affection? Do you even know who I am? Eric's fingers tightened around mine, and a terrible feeling crept into my heart. I couldn't shake the sense that he wasn't as clueless as everyone thought. On the way home, Eric stayed completely silent. He didn't cling to me like he used to, and I grew increasingly uneasy. That night, he locked himself in the study and skipped dinner altogether. After 10 p.m. when he still hadn't come out, I decided to check on him. Eric, can I come in? He didn't respond, but he unlocked the door. I entered the study. It was pitch dark. Eric hadn't turned on the lights. I was about to reach for the switch when I heard his voice from somewhere near the couch. Annie, don't. Okay. I won't. His voice was a little stuffy, with a nasal edge. I started feeling worried, carefully inching forward in the dark until I found him sitting on the floor by the couch. There was a faint scent of alcohol on him, and he clutched a wine glass in his hand. I reached over and took it away. Why are you drinking? Did you forget what the doctor said? It's bad for your eyes. Just a little, Eric mumbled, tugging lightly at my sleeve. Wifey, don't be mad, okay? I'm not. Come here, let me hold you. He collapsed into my arms without a word, resting against me quietly. His voice was soft as his tears fell silently onto my neck and trickled down. And in that moment, my heart ached like never before. This was the same man who had once been aloof, proud, untouchable. When had he ever looked so defeated? In that moment, my heart ached so badly. The man who had once been cold, aloof, and seemingly immune to desire. When had he ever looked so broken? Don't cry, Eric. Please, don't cry. After a long silence, I finally summoned the courage to ask, did you remember something? He gave a soft, almost imperceptible nod. Yeah, a few things. What kind of things? My voice trembled slightly, with a nervousness I hadn't even noticed myself. I remembered her. That girl we saw at the mall today, Sophia. She was the one who told my mom, right outside the operating room, that I'd be a fool forever, that I'd never recover. She said she didn't want to spend her life taking care of a blind man like me. You won't stay like this, Eric. I'm sure of it. You'll get better. I did my best to comfort him. If he could already remember her name, his full memory might return any day now. Wifey, why does it hurt so much? He asked. Silly man. It's because you loved her. Loving someone means their words can still hurt you, long after they're gone. It's okay. I'm here. He tilted his head up to look at me, moonlight scattered in his eyes like dusted stars. Wifey, if I don't get better, will you still want me? Of course I will. No matter how you change, I'll always want you. I've loved you for so long, how could I ever walk away? If that accident had never happened, you would have remained someone forever out of reach. Memories brushed past like petals of gardenias drifting outside a July window. The breeze of youth carried away the echoes of missed promises. Sunlight filtering through leafy shadows kissed the edge of a classroom desk. I still remember the moment your bright face appeared beneath the trees, and in that instant, something inside me quietly began to bloom. Perhaps. My summer was already fading the moment you walked in. If I could, I would have frozen time, just to stay here with you forever. But even if that's not possible, I still want you to get better, Eric. Even if it means I'll have to leave. Even if you don't remember me, it's okay, so long as you're happy. Just when I thought Eric had finally dozed off in his drunken haze, he suddenly murmured, Wifey, have you ever lied to me? I froze. My hand gripped the front of his shirt, trembling. The words stuck in my throat. Terror clawed at me. The lie I'd been hiding for so long, it was always a ticking bomb. Would you hate me when it exploded? I'm sorry, Eric. I was never your real girlfriend. I wasn't even your wifey. Just someone who took advantage of your memory loss to marry you. I'm not the one you truly loved. Wifey, please don't lie to me. Of all the things I hate being lied to the most. If anyone else lies to me, I can take it. But not you. Not the person I trust the most. I gently patted his back, holding back the tears stinging behind my eyes. I know, I whispered. I'm sorry, Eric. Wifey, I love you. I'll start my treatment properly tomorrow. Okay. I love you too, Eric. But I can't say that out loud anymore. By the time I tucked him in, it was already past 2 a.m. I looked again at the message Sophia had sent me. Everything was happening just as she had predicted. Meet me at the cafe at 7 a.m. tomorrow. I'm sure you know how much influence I still have over Eric. Even if he doesn't remember me now. Yes. Eric had always liked her. I knew it, even back when we were in college. They were the envy of the entire campus. One gentle and caring, the other poised and elegant. A perfect match. I was just a classmate. From high school through college, we'd spoken no more than 10 sentences. He probably didn't even remember my name. Sophia was right. If she hadn't left Eric and gone abroad, I never would have had any interaction with him, ever. If it weren't for that accident, they would have been married long ago. Eric's surgery was scheduled for 2 p.m. But that morning, I still went to meet Sophia. The moment I arrived at the cafe, she tossed a card onto the table. "There's 5 million in here. Password 6 zeros. I looked at her coldly. "What's this?" "Leave Eric." "Why should I?" I sounded indifferent. But I had to admit, Sophia knew exactly where to strike. "Because from the very beginning, you and Eric were never something to be proud of. Annie, don't you get it? Eric hates being lied to the most. If he finds out you were never really his girlfriend, that you married him under false pretenses, what do you think he'll do? And if he finds out it was all for money, do you really think the two of you have a future?" She wasn't wrong. I'd been trying to ignore it. But the truth had always been there. There was a time I'd wanted to start over with Eric. Even after Sophia abandoned him, I wouldn't. I used to imagine us meeting by chance, getting to know each other slowly, falling in love like normal people. But things never go according to plan. Suddenly, my brother needed tuition. My grandfather needed medicine. And I agreed to marry Eric under the Parker family's arrangement. Our marriage had been a transaction from the very beginning. That sweet dream of a youthful crush had withered like a rose lost in the wilderness. When I brought Eric to the operating room, he looked especially uneasy, clinging to me tightly. "Wifey, I'm a little scared." Even the doctor was getting impatient. They urged me to coax him onto the operating table. But today, Eric was unusually stubborn. He sat on the movable bed, refusing to let go of my waist, his head buried in my chest. "Wifey, will you stay outside the whole time? When I come out, will I get to see you again?" "Of course. I'll be right here waiting for you." "Liar." He suddenly raised his voice, startling me. What's wrong?" I stammered, heart racing. But then he held me tighter, and his voice softened again. "Sorry. I didn't mean to snap. Annie, if you're lying to me, I'll never forgive you. So please, wait for me, okay?" He kissed my palm. I could feel his hands trembling as they held mine. Maybe he was just scared the surgery would hurt. I kept whispering comfort, again and again. As they wheeled him toward the operating room, Eric clung to my hand, reluctant to let go. "Wifey," he said softly, "when I open my eyes, I want the first person I see to be you. I really want to see if my wifey is beautiful. Will you promise me that?" His words reassured me. It seemed he hadn't sensed my plan to leave. I couldn't help teasing, "But, what if I'm not pretty?" Eric frowned slightly. "Impossible. To me, you're the most beautiful woman in the world." Oh? He raised a brow. "Wifey, that's a pretty flat response." That was the first time his tone sounded so mature, like a grown man. A faint trace of the old Eric shone through. The doctor said the hematoma in his brain was slowly dissipating. It wouldn't be long before his memory returned. But the surgery on his eyes came with unpredictable risks. He might remember the past, and forget the present. I'd known that all along. When he asked if the surgery had any risks, I lied to him. Losing me was the only risk. But if he survived and lived well, that was enough. I didn't dare ask for more. I'd lied to him so many times already. What's one more? 3 years passed before I realized it. During those years, I did everything I could to avoid hearing news about Eric. I deleted every trace of him from my life. To escape even farther, I went abroad for graduate studies, changed my name to Tina Perry. But no matter how far I ran, his name kept showing up. On financial reports, news headlines, international forums. Standing in the heart of bustling New York, I looked up at the massive digital screen as he spoke fluent, polished English. "We aim to build a global economic partnership and bridge Eastern and Western markets." So this is the real Eric I once knew. No longer the silly, clingy Eric who only belonged to me. But a brilliant star, meant to shine for the world. This morning it rained again. On the way to work, I stood under the awning, watching him on that giant screen for a long time. Traffic made me late. As soon as I entered the company lobby, an assistant stood outside the office waiting for me. He handed me a thick stack of documents. "Tina, what took you so long? The big boss is here for an inspection today. He's been fuming in the office. You better hurry." "There's an inspection today?" I asked guiltily. "I'm dead, aren't I?" The assistant drew a finger across his neck. "Yep. Game over. I heard it's brutal, cold, ruthless, emotionally unstable, and recovering from a heartbreak." "Okay, stop. You're making me shiver already." I peeked into the office through a crack in the door. About 50 people stood like schoolkids being punished. I figured maybe if I crouched low enough, I could sneak in unnoticed. There were so many people, surely no one would spot a tiny me slipping through. As I inched forward, someone accidentally tripped me. I nearly fell, but managed to grab onto something nearby for support. Only, it felt suspiciously warm. Before I could react, a cold as ice voice came from above. "Miss, how long do you plan to grope my thigh?" "Oh crap." I shot up to explain, only to smack my head against the desk. Reflexively, I squatted back down. The man above me gave a low groan. I was completely flustered, fumbling like crazy. It's not what you think, I didn't mean." But the man didn't give me a chance to explain. He frowned deeply, expression cold. "Still not getting up?" At that moment, a line from my kid's soap opera flashed through my head. Without thinking, I blurted out. "You keep scowling like that, you're going to end up single." The man was speechless. And I was finished. Totally. Completely. Dead. I slowly looked up. And froze. Breath caught in my chest. Eric. Just 1 second longer and I might have blurted out his name. If longing made a sound, it would be the thundering beat of my heart the moment I saw him. Eric glanced at me coldly. I thought maybe, he recognized me. But no. He looked away and continued listening to his subordinate's report. I returned to my spot, standing, like everyone else. With a loud smack, Eric slammed a stack of documents onto the table. Papers scattered everywhere. Most of them landed right in front of me. "Who wrote this proposal?" The senior manager beside me was visibly shaking. No one dared to breathe. Someone finally spoke up. It was Tina. "Oh no. I'm screwed." My colleagues pushed me forward. I wanted to disappear. It was me. Eric sat nearby, gaze sharp and unreadable. "Tina, are you married?" A helpful coworker jumped in gleefully. "Yup. She's married, with 2 kids." That level of detail was so unnecessary. Eric's expression darkened further, his jaw clenched. "No wonder this proposal is so mediocre." "So, it's not totally useless?" I wanted to scream. "Then why'd you throw it? Do you know how long I spent on that?" I'd expected him to call it garbage. But mediocre? That felt like a backhanded rescue. Timidly, I asked, "So, should I redo it?" "Redo it," Eric said firmly. Then something felt off. "So, you mean just the report, right?" Eric gave me a look. "What else? Did Tina think I meant you were too distracted by pleasures of the flesh to revise it last night?" I didn't say that." "Enough. I'm not interested in Tina's personal life. Just come to my office this afternoon and fix the report." Outside, my coworkers whispered behind me. "See? Heartbroken men are terrifying. Tina, you're new, so you don't know. Our boss had a lover 3 years ago, she disappeared. Rumor says she left right after his surgery, took $5 million and vanished." And just like that, the past I'd worked so hard to forget rose quietly from the depths of my heart. That day, I had waited outside the operating room for hours when Eric's attending physician finally came out and told me. Eric had lost his memory. He only remembered things about Sophia. Everyone thought he could now start a new life with her. But somehow, he remembered me. Or maybe I was just being delusional. The tabloids were full of his gossip with popular celebrities. I'd also heard rumors that he and Sophia were about to get engaged. Perhaps this was all for the best. "Let it go, Annie. He was never yours to begin with." A colleague patted me gently on the shoulder. "Tina, don't feel too bad. We'll help you finish the report if you can't manage." When I entered Eric's office, he was quietly signing documents. I didn't dare interrupt him, just tiptoed to a seat across from his desk. Seeing me come in, he casually pointed at a thick stack of papers beside him. "Tina, just redo everything at the desk across from mine," he said, then went back to work. His voice was far gentler than it had been in the open office. Not nearly as cold. This was the first time I had seen Eric working from up close. His eyes looked fully recovered. Sunlight streamed through the slats of the blinds, casting fragmented shadows across the room. 3 years had passed, yet just looking at him still made my heart race uncontrollably. Over the next few days, he kept calling me into his office to work on files. We barely spoke, no more than 2 sentences per day. This arrangement continued for about a week. Eric arrived on time every day. The company was about to launch a new product, so technically, he should have been swamped. He had been working late into the night all week. But today, he never showed up. A strange sense of unease crept in. I was worried, but I had no right to ask. Aimlessly, I wandered around his office. I'd never dared look around while he was present. Now that he wasn't here, I finally had the courage. Then I saw it. A bottle of pills on his desk. When I read the label, my heart clenched so tight it hurt. For treatment of depression-related insomnia, anxiety, and fear. I didn't even finish reading the rest. My vision blurred with tears. I quickly wiped them away. Suddenly, Eric's voice came from behind me. "Tina, what are you doing?" "Nothing." I replied in a whisper, not daring to meet his eyes. Really, he said, clearly unconvinced. He walked toward me, slow and steady. The desk loomed behind me. I had nowhere to retreat. He stopped just inches away. I could smell the cool mint on his clothes. Then his voice dropped, cold and sharp. If there's nothing else, you can leave for the day. Okay. Under his quiet pressure, I quickly gathered my things and walked past him with my head down. He returned to his seat wordlessly. No further conversation. The air felt heavy, like nothing had happened. Yet everything had. Even with his head down working, I could feel his gaze drifting toward me now and then. Needles on my back. Every time I turned to look, he was still bent over his desk like before. As I was about to leave, something made me stop. I walked to his desk and asked, without really knowing why, "President, aren't you heading home?" Eric looked surprised by my question. He didn't seem to know how to respond. Later. I pointed to the door. Then I'll get going. His voice was quiet. Okay. But when I reached the lobby downstairs, I realized I'd left my phone in his office. I turned back. Outside the door, I heard him speaking to someone on the phone. A voice I'd never heard him use before, warm, gentle. "Your mom's on her way home. She'll be there soon. Just wait a little longer, okay?" I peered through the crack in the door. He was holding my phone. Through the receiver, I heard my son Dan's voice. "Uncle, why do you have my mommy's phone? Are you my daddy?" Eric froze. "I'm her boss," he replied, steady. "She was too busy and forgot her phone after work." Panic gripped me. How long had they been talking? If Eric discovered the kid's existence, my secret would be completely exposed. I rushed into the office. Eric looked up in surprise when he saw me and raised a hand to signal, "Wait." But I couldn't stay calm. What if Dan said something he shouldn't? Still, I couldn't act too anxious either. That would only raise suspicion. Thankfully, Eric hung up after a few more words. But my heart kept pounding wildly. I walked over, hoping to snatch my phone and end this nightmare. Eric suddenly raised his hand high. He was tall, and I could barely reach. In my panic, I nearly lunged into him. My voice rose without warning. "Eric." He frowned slightly. "It's late. I'll drive you home. I'll give you the phone in the car." "No, that's not necessary. I can go back on my own," I said quickly. What I didn't tell him was that my phone's lock screen was a photo of the two of us from before. Eric ignored my protests. He picked up his coat from the sofa, grabbed my wrist, and practically dragged me out of the building. He opened the car door, helped me in, and buckled my seatbelt. All in one smooth motion. It felt so natural. I wondered how many times he'd done this for someone else. He started the engine, leaned his head against the steering wheel, and glanced sideways at me. "Tina, what's your address?" I didn't dare tell him. My heart thudded in my chest. I scrambled for an excuse to avoid being dropped off. But clearly, I underestimated Eric. As the streets outside grew more familiar, I realized. As an employee in his company, he had ways of finding my address. We pulled up outside my apartment. He parked with flawless precision. I opened the door, wanting nothing more than to bolt out of that car. I was terrified the kids would see him. Especially Dan, who looked so much like Eric. Anyone with eyes would know the truth. "Tina?" He called my name softly. The car doors had been locked. I forced myself to turn back and meet his gaze. "Yes? You're afraid of me?" His fingers tapped against the steering wheel, rhythmic, steady. "Am I really that scary?" I didn't know how to answer. "Not really." Sure, he was strict at work. But he hadn't made things too hard for me. In fact, he even helped revise my reports. "Then what is it?" I didn't want to keep talking. The more we interacted, the more dangerous things became. I didn't want him to catch on, so I casually gave an excuse. "President, I'm married. So, we should keep our distance. Maintaining a professional superior-subordinate relationship is best." "I know," Eric replied in a neutral tone, making it hard to gauge his emotions. "It's just that. Tina, you really remind me of someone. Someone from the past." Eric leaned wearily against the steering wheel. He looked exhausted, a thin layer of mist clouding his beautiful eyes, those very eyes I had once tried so hard to protect. Now, they were staring straight at me. "Tina, you really look like her." "Who?" My heartbeat quickened as I asked, palms growing sweaty. "Is she someone important to you?" "Yes. My lover." Eric's eyes turned red, and the joints of his fingers gripping the wheel were stark white. His voice was hoarse. Those two words, "my lover," burned my throat. "Miss White?" I asked. "Sophia. The white moonlight in your heart. Why do you say that?" Eric seemed confused. "Everyone in the company says so." He suddenly let out a cold laugh. "Her? She's not worthy." I froze. Then, could he possibly be talking about me? I dared not imagine. Who was I to presume? Just someone who took advantage of a moment of weakness. Click. The window of the Kian slid down, and Eric unlocked the door. Tina, we're here. I fled in panic. But his final words lingered in my ears, haunting me like the wind. Maybe it's better to stay amnesiac, then you don't have to take responsibility. What did he mean by that? After that day, Eric kept a careful distance from me. Once the report matter was handled, I had no more excuses to go into his office. When the weekend came, the company organized a team-building dinner at an upscale hotel. I had assumed Eric wouldn't attend. He didn't strike me as the social type. To my surprise, after several rounds of drinks, he showed up. Everyone quickly made space for him at the center of the table. Maybe it was the alcohol, but the atmosphere soon turned wild. Someone suggested, let's play truth or dare. Sure. Eric nodded nonchalantly, agreeing to join. The bottle spun and landed on me. Everyone turned toward me expectantly. Tina, have you ever had a secret crush? Instinctively, I glanced at Eric, then quickly looked away, flustered. I chose dare and downed 3 shots as my penalty. My colleagues grinned knowingly. Aha. She totally has. By the 3rd glass, my stomach churned with discomfort. Suddenly, Eric reached out, grabbed my glass, and drank the rest for me. He looked around and ordered, next round. His fingers brushed mine, my palm felt like it was on fire. The bottle seemed to keep pointing at him. One bold question after another followed. President, have you ever had a crush? Yes. In middle school. Whoa. Next question, President, have you ever had someone you loved? Eric hesitated. After a few seconds, he quietly drank 3 shots, then finally said, yes. I had. Ever since Eric drank for me, I didn't have much more, but he looked like he was getting drunk. After the party ended, everyone else had left with designated drivers. Only Eric and I remained in the private room. I had no choice but to drag him out to find a ride. No matter how I asked, he refused to give me his address. He stared at me with slightly drunken amusement. Tina? I was surprised he could still recognize me after all that drinking. I want to tell you a secret. He crooked a finger at me. Curious, I knelt down beside him, ear tilted close. What secret? His eyes narrowed. A soft chuckle rumbled from his chest. I have a lover. Her last name's also Perry. Isn't that incredible? Everyone thinks I forgot, but I've remembered all along. My breath caught. How could he remember? Wasn't he supposed to have forgotten? Eric, how do you still remember? Because I can't forget, he said, smiling, then crying. He cried without a sound, head bowed low. If his tears hadn't fallen on the back of my hand, I wouldn't have even noticed. Because I can't forget. Those words scorched my chest. Eric, you weren't supposed to remember. Only by forgetting me could you move on and live your own life. I was just a passing chapter. No matter what you become, I'll still want you, Eric murmured. That's the most beautiful love confession I've ever heard. Do you hate her, Eric? I asked softly. His answer was his steady breathing. He had fallen asleep. I didn't have his ID, so I couldn't check him into a hotel. I had no choice but to take him home. I figured I'd get the kids, Dan and Tim, to daycare early the next morning, then wake Eric afterwards so he'd never find out about them. But I underestimated the effects of alcohol. When I woke up, it was already noon. I rushed downstairs barefoot. There he was, Eric, chatting warmly with the kids. The 3 of them were building blocks together. Eric had little Tim in his lap, one arm wrapped around Dan's waist. He was patiently teaching them how to build a dinosaur out of blocks, voice gentle, eyes smiling. Dan, no, not like that, the legs crooked. Like this, see? Dan clung to his arm. Daddy, you're amazing. Daddy? I froze. Just one night, and the kids had already accepted him? Dan looked at him with pure admiration and even mocked me. Mom doesn't know how to do it. Tim stared dreamily at Eric. Daddy, you're so handsome. Are you really the man from Mommy's photo? No wonder she keeps staring at your picture. Traitorous little munchkin. Eric's voice was hoarse. Your Mommy, she has a photo of me. Panic surged through me. When I left Eric, I had taken all the photos. He didn't have a single one left. So he had no way of knowing who I was. Yeah, Mommy has tons of pictures of you. I tried to stop them, but it was too late. Tim's little legs pitter-pattered upstairs. He came back holding a thick photo album. All of them, every single one, were memories Eric and I had once shared. Eric stared at the photos, his pupils widening in shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Then, he suddenly clutched his head, as if overwhelmed by a splitting pain. I rushed over, worried. Eric suddenly quieted down. He glanced at me and rubbed his temples. Then, he turned to the children and said, Dan, how about Daddy asks Uncle Driver to take you both to school first? But the two kids clung to him tightly. No. What if you run away? Eric rubbed his forehead helplessly and gently tousled their hair. I won't. I promise I'll be back in time to cook dinner for you tonight, okay? Only then did the kids reluctantly agree. Each kissed him on one cheek. All right then, Daddy. After the children left, only Eric and I remained in the room. Silence fell between us. Well, technically, it was just me avoiding his gaze. After a while, Eric finally spoke. His tone was calm, but I could hear the suppressed anger underneath. What is going on here? I said nothing, unable to form a response. Eric sighed. Annie, talk to me. It's just as you saw, I murmured. I'm the one who broke my promise and deceived you. Go ahead and hate me. Eric let out a disbelieving chuckle, then slowly stepped toward me. He cornered me against the wall, his reddened eyes filled with emotion. In your eyes, what am I, Annie? I clenched my fingers, trying to suppress the ache in my chest. His palm slapped the wall beside my head. I flinched and closed my eyes in fear. His tall frame cast a heavy shadow over me. Then came his voice, low and disappointed. So I meant that little to you? You had to change your name and hide from me? Was it that hard to just talk to me? You disappeared without a word. Eric, it's not what you think, I tried my best to explain, but he didn't believe me. Tears slipped down his face and landed on my eyelashes. It seemed every time he was with me, I made him cry. Annie, I'll never believe you again. If I cry for you one more time, I'm a damn fool. With that, Eric stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I thought that was it. That he'd never want to see me again. I even started drafting my resignation. But to my surprise, that evening, the doorbell rang loudly. Ding dong. Ding dong. Eric stood at the door, holding a large bag of fresh vegetables. I promised to cook dinner for them. I'm not going to break that promise. I was a little offended. After dinner, the kids refused to let him leave. They clung tightly to his waist. Daddy, don't go. Sleep here tonight with Mommy. Cough, cough. Their words were so shocking I choked on my drink. Eric gave me a sidelong glance, his voice tinged with playful grievance. Forget it. Your mom doesn't like me. I'll just go sleep at the office. Our lovely son rushed to mediate. That's not true. Mommy kisses your picture every night before bed. She says you were her high school crush, she really likes you. I nearly died from embarrassment. I was still sipping water and nearly choked again. These two traitors, take them away, please. Eric's face flushed red, all the way down to his neck. His voice was gentle, almost romantic. Really? Really? The kids giggled and nodded furiously. That night, Eric really stayed. In the room, we sat awkwardly facing each other. He took a shower first. When he came out, water still clung to his skin. The defined lines of his abs traced down from his waist to his lower abdomen. I turned away, my cheeks burning. You should sleep on the bed. I'll take the couch. Eric suddenly walked over to me. What are you hiding for? Haven't you already seen everything there is to see? My heart skipped a beat. 3 years had passed, and I was still hopeless. Annie, Eric called my name. Turn around. Let's talk. I turned, head lowered. What is there to talk about? 3 years ago, why did you leave? Eric sat down on the sofa, gently pinching the bridge of his nose. Yeah, why did I leave? Because I didn't believe in what we had. Because I felt guilty for lying to you. Because I was insecure. Because I wasn't really your girlfriend. Your girlfriend was Sophia. And I agreed to marry you because of your mom, but truthfully, it was for the money. I wasn't doing it on purpose. Eric's voice was steady but held a trace of sadness. Did you ever like me? Or not at all? I did. My tone was firm. I had a crush on you in high school. You probably don't remember, but we were in the same class. I remember, he replied softly. I even talked to you once. But you ignored me. How could that be? If someone as good-looking as him had spoken to me, I'd never forget it. But then Eric told me, he had known me since middle school. Back then, he was a chubby kid, always lagging behind me during running drills. We weren't in the same class, so I had no memory of this. I had social anxiety. By high school, I couldn't even talk to boys. All I focused on was studying and making money. I needed money, lots of it. Every spare minute after school went to part-time jobs. I became quiet, withdrawn, and barely paid attention to my surroundings. When Eric tried to talk to me, I barely responded. Or maybe, I never really dared to look at him properly. The only clear memory I had was during a break between classes. Everyone was playing basketball. Someone shot too hard, and the ball almost hit me as I walked by. Eric had stepped in and blocked it for me. He looked at me apologetically. Sorry, are you okay? That was the first time I truly noticed his face. I hadn't realized we had such a handsome guy in class. It wasn't just his looks that drew me in, it was his unique voice, that carefree spirit. It was a kind of freedom I never dared dream of. From that moment on, I began to notice him. But soon after, Eric transferred schools. I never thought we'd end up at the same university. He became the star of our campus, straight A's, good looks, a wealthy family. I always assumed he and Sophia were dating. Everyone seemed to pair them together. Seeing my surprised expression, Eric tapped my forehead. Silly. How could we be a couple? People kept putting us together. At first, I explained. Eventually, I got tired of it and just let them talk. But now, it's different. Eric kissed my forehead gently. I looked at him, puzzled. What's different? The corners of his lips lifted slightly. Because now, I have a wifey. Anything that makes you uneasy, I'll take care of it. I won't let you feel sad again. Eric, are you forgiving me? I asked, a little hopeful. Not yet. I'm still a little mad. Oh, I lowered my head, disappointed. Eric pressed his fingers to his forehead, strands of hair shadowing his lashes so I couldn't see his expression. Annie, you really are just too much. Too disappointing. You really hurt me. Do you know how I made it through the past 3 years? Everyone kept hammering in the same thing. That I wasn't married. That I didn't have a wifey. That it was all some delusion brought on by memory loss. I had imagined 100 outcomes, but never this. Eric, his eyes red and glistening, looking straight at me and saying, "You hurt me." That moment tore through my chest. I loved him so much. And yet, I still managed to hurt him. All I ever wanted was for him to be happy. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm so sorry. My breath was stolen as he kissed me. He pressed me against the wall behind, one arm shielding my head, his kiss a mix of anger, pain, and 3 years of pent-up longing. Annie, I was so close. Eric pulled me into his arms, burying his head in my neck. I was so close to never finding you again. You took all our photos when you left, not even one was left behind. What was I supposed to do, huh? Eric, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have made assumptions. I shouldn't have left without explaining. I thought after the surgery, you'd forget me completely. His gaze held a faint reproach, but it was clouded with tenderness and hurt. How could I possibly forget you? He sat up and held me close, fingers running through my hair. Annie, love isn't just a memory, it's a feeling. A year later, I remembered you. How could I ever choose to forget? I searched everywhere for you. But you took every trace of us with you. And when I finally heard your voice at the company, I didn't even dare believe it was you. Especially when you'd even changed your name. Love is not memory. It's emotion. Why did it take me this long to understand? My guilt rendered me speechless. Eric, if you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I'm willing to do anything. As long as you forgive me, I'll never run again. I'll never leave you behind. Eric gently wiped my tears, eyes filled with warmth and devotion. Really? I nodded. He sat on the couch, slowly patting his lap. Come here. What? I blinked, stunned. But my body moved on its own. Eric gently tugged me down onto his lap. Didn't you say you'd do anything to please me? His long fingers wrapped around my waist. His breath tickled the skin of my neck. Then, he bit my earlobe. A jolt of electric shivers ran through me. He laughed like a devil in disguise. Wifey, you're this innocent? How will you ever learn to please your husband? I shook my head. He chuckled wickedly. Then let me teach you. He guided my hand lower, down his waist. Wifey. The room filled with a haze of desire. His voice, low and thick with longing, wrapped around me like a spell. I lost myself in the way he kept calling me, wifey. That night, I learned a hard truth. Never provoke a man who's just awakened his appetite. I thought he was a harmless puppy. Turns out, I was gravely mistaken. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, Eric whispered softly into my ear, Wifey, let's love slowly, grow old slowly. Don't ever run from me again. I'll never let you feel uncertain again. That day, I hadn't taken it seriously. After all, apart from Eric, no one could make me feel uncertain anymore. Until I saw the interview with Sophia. A reporter asked, when will we hear about the wedding date for movie Queen White and President Parker? The fans are dying for the celebration. Sophia smiled, her expression sweet and bashful. Well, that depends on Eric. That morning, Weibo was flooded with comments on Eric's page. President Parker, when are you marrying our goddess? A perfect match made in heaven. She's waited for you all these years. Don't forget to share your wedding sweets, Sophia. Even though I knew it was fake, it still stung a little. Sophia, of course, sweetly replied to many, soon. We'll let everyone know. I couldn't take it anymore and closed the app. By evening, my phone was blowing up. Eric had posted an official statement using the company's account, minding my own business and still taking the fall. Ms. White's false statements have seriously damaged my reputation. Eric Parker will be pursuing legal action. Also, I'm married. I love my wifey very much. I have no plans to commit bigamy. Back when I was single, I didn't care what people said. But now that I'm married, I understand the importance of being a proper husband. I won't let anything upset my wifey. Please take note. Late that night, Eric added me on Weibo, MS Annie, please take care of me for the rest of our lives. I replied, Mr. Parker, likewise. And added a pat head emoji. Eric immediately followed with a sending flowers gif. Someone asked Eric if he had any goals for the new year. His reply? Earn milk money. Raise kids. Pamper my wifey. Our Weibo interaction sparked another frenzy. Everyone was convinced Eric was hopelessly wifey whipped. Me. You're all mistaken. I'm the one being husband whipped, thank you very much. Later that night, Eric somehow found my old anonymous forum post, help. My husband goes at it 7 times a night, no self-control. Netizen 1, easy. Divorce. Me, don't dare. Netizen 2, yeah right, sounds fake. A man who lasts half an hour is already top tier. Netizen 3, mine's done in 3 minutes. Did I complain? User 30-something virgin, mine's done in 1 second. Am I not proud? Anonymous poster, FYI, comment sections are not lawless zones. Just in case Eric ever stumbled across it, I even got a new phone. But, he found it anyway. Wifey, you want a divorce, huh? Eric said, walking toward me step by step. I kept backing away until there was nowhere left to run. I don't dare. So, you don't dare. Not that you don't want to. No, I mean both. I don't want to and I don't dare. Humph. I'll let it slide for now. Come here. Oh. I tiptoed over. What do you want? I'm warning you, be on your best behavior tonight. Eric chuckled, soft and gentle. Got it. Can't I just hold you? I pouted. Fine. I'll reluctantly allow you one hug. Eric laughed. Then I'm the lucky one. Thank you, wifey.